Welcome to another episode of Inspire People, Impact Lives. I'm your host, Josh Kosnick, Managing Partner, Northwestern Mutual, Middleton, Madison, Wisconsin. Today I have a special guest, Tim OBrien, founder and CEO of The Healthy Place, formerly known as Apple Wellness, and we'll get into that a little bit in that transition today. But really excited to have you on the show, Tim.
Thanks, dude. Super happy to be here. You're a cool guy, man. You guys should see the suit. I don't know if you can see the video, but he's got a cool suit.
Well, if they're watching YouTube, they will. If they listen to us on iTunes, probably not. But yeah, we're talking about the suits and the tailor that Mitch, he'll come see you. He'll hook it up. But you're definitely an entrepreneur that we've identified in the community, and you've had some massive growth over the past couple of years, so really want to talk to you. But before we get to that, tell the audience about yourself.
Yeah. My mom fought through cancer when I was 4 or 5 years old, and after the chemotherapy and radiation, a lot of her recovery was through natural alternatives. So through that experience, she saw some pretty cool recovery and got a job at just kind of a mom and pop nutrition store and became the manager. So us kids, we were like homeschooled, and we'd all visit mom at work and do our school there and watch these testimonies unfold. You know, people with chronic pain, stress problems, getting off the anti-anxiety medications, sleep medications, the opiate epidemic, and heavy hitting issues like cancer, dementia, and just watching my mom work with these people and watching results. Not always like, oh shoot, this didn't work this time for this lady, but man, this other person we got off the opiates, stuff like that. So by the time I was 18, it was like in my DNA was with natural alternatives. I found out pretty quick that I liked people in life, and I liked telling and helping people, encouraging people. So that's when I got a job at GNC when I was 18 years old, and that's actually what brought me to Madison, was the fact that I found out I loved it. So I got invited to district manage a couple of the GNC stores in the Madison area, and that's what brought me out here. And, after a couple of years, there was a corporate takeover where all the franchises became corporate, and everybody lost their jobs. So it was like, dang, what do I do now? And I was newly married with my wife, and like, what should we do? So we were praying about it, and that's when we decided to start Apple Wellness back in 2010. So that's been a really, really fun ride. And so that's kind of like how I got into what I'm doing today. I guess to your question, who I am,
This one's harder for you to answer.
That's a tougher question. Yeah, I'm 36. I'm male. I grew up, parents divorced, one of those stories, and so a lot of frustration going into my teen years. Like for me, it turned to anger, and it turned to homeschool story. So like I didn't have a social network at all. The way my mom did it anyway, because I think you can do it the right way, but I just wanted to find friends. So I found the wrong friends, and I got pretty heavy into drugs and kind of the wrong crowd at McWanago High School. What's up? And that really led me down a pretty dark path, 13 to about 18. Just drugs, and I didn't care about my life. I graduated with a 1.7 GPA, barely getting out of high school. And then really kind of cool when I was 18 years old, God kind of broke into my life, and I wasn't looking for him. I was raised in kind of a Christian home, if you would say, but not really giving my life to God. It was more just believing in God. Yeah. And he sort of busted into my life. Wasn't looking for him at all, and I just saw my life it was like a puppet. The devil or something was the controller of the puppet, and I didn't want that. I was like, shoot, I don't want that for the rest of my life. So from that point on, it was okay, God, I want to do life your way. What up? What should I do? And when I started asking that question, it was pretty cool. He just started, opening. He opened the GNC thing that brought me to Madison, and that brought me to Apple Wellness. That brought me to my wife, and it was pretty cool. So, yeah, I'm just a big believer in God being God and giving my life to Him, and He's been taking care of me ever since. Met my beautiful wife about 10 years ago, 11 years ago.
So right around the same time, or right before?
We started right before, so it would have been 11. Yeah, right before the store.
Well, that's a major pressure on a marriage or a new relationship. Hey, by the way, we're going to go into debt and start this thing with no guarantee. Was she working at the time, by the way?
She was, yeah. And it was funny you mentioned the debt thing because she didn't know until like year 3 what it meant to put your house on as collateral. So she had, like, evidently I didn't explain that very well. So she's like, "You're telling me we could have lost our house?" And I was like, "That's why you weren't as worried as I was."
So communication.
Communication, yep, that is one of my areas of weakness. And yeah, it was scary. Plus, we knew that we wanted her to be at home with the babies, once she started having babies and stuff. So it was like year 2 that she got pregnant, and it was like the timer started of when we wanted her to be able to like quit her job and be able to stay at home with the babies and everything. So yeah, dude, I mean, it's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate. And I was in this business 3-4 years. Met my wife. We got engaged very quickly. Proposed after 6 months, and then we were married the very next year. But then her moving to Madison from Indiana. Yeah. So I'm a quick start. So when you know. I took action. So, but then she moves to Madison. She was either going to go to law school or move on and to do something in the professional space because she had just graduated from Anderson University, a Christian university down in Indiana. But in that sense, we decided to start an Anytime Fitness.
Whoa.
And we own the downtown at University Square, and you go into significant debt before you have one customer. And, from equipment to the rent to whatever it might be. And it's a scary time, especially in a new relationship. So we remember, she was just talking about it with a couple the other night, starting out like we didn't have any money. And, we still lived a fine life, but like that's having that much, whether it's $500,000, $1 million, whatever it takes for someone to start a business, that's a big number and a big boulder hanging over your head.
Dude, yeah. And wrong turn, could mean you're paying for that for the next 20 years.
Right.
And not any further ahead, but further behind. So it is a big step of faith, ultimately.
Yeah.
Good for you guys. That's a cool story.
So for you guys in Apple Wellness, so let's talk about it. We talked a little bit about the name change.
Yeah.
So let's tell the audience how that came about, because it was Apple Wellness, now Healthy Place, and you have 4 locations that you've grown to.
Yeah.
Talk about the name change.
So funny, dude. So I mean, I'd be, on one side of the store, and I'd see one of my staff, on the phone, and I'd hear them say like, "Well, turn it off and then turn it back on." And, so people thought we were an Apple store. In Apple Wellness, they thought we fixed computers. So then, like, unhealthy computers, Apple Wellness. So we were getting that a lot, and I'd be like, "Well, we don't have Apple products, but, we have vitamin C," like trying to turn that call into a win, right? So that was a thing. In addition to that, we found out Apple actually has an Apple Wellness program for their employees. So it was like trademark infringement or whatever they call it. I was like, just as we're growing, it's just a matter of time till we start stepping on their feet maybe. That in addition to, my wife is our graphic designer, and she's brilliant in like branding and artistic design or social, and she said this from the beginning, she's like, the Apple word is taken. Like, that is taken. So from the beginning, just about, she wanted a different name. Yeah. And so she thought long and hard and found the Healthy Place. And she's been just brilliant with, find your healthy place and all the marketing kind of ties that you can do to that. So I've been pretty excited about it. So yeah, that was a 2-year change, which was intensive, because at first we were like, Apple Wellness, the Healthy Place, how can I help you? And then after about a year of saying that on the phone and all of our marketing, then it switched to the Healthy Place, Apple Wellness, how can I help you? And just in the last few months, we dropped off Apple Wellness off of a lot of our radio ads, TV ads, and how we answer the phone and such. So it's been a transition, and people were still like, "Are you like new owners?" Or as hard as we tried, it was still it was hard. Yeah, it was a tough switch.
So I can just imagine one of your employees like, I work at Apple Wellness, but I'm also an Apple genius.
Right? Yes, yeah.
So that's fun. So as you go into that transition, the branding, I think that earlier this year we talked a little bit pre-show about COVID, and you guys starting the website and really pushing towards that.
Yeah.
So I want to say, like, some businesses have really struggled. And some businesses have pivoted and done really well. And it sounds like you're the latter there, where you've pivoted and done really well. Talk about the decision to do that, maybe some of the feelings that went around it, and how you guys have succeeded through that.
Oh, thanks, dude. Yeah, dude, I'm feeling for a lot of the companies, dude, like friends, family members that are not set up for COVID. I mean, it's brutal. And, any business, I'm just thankful that we had a few of the things set up before COVID that were in progress. There's inflection points for any and every business where if you don't change, you either stay the same or you start to die, as a company. And so I read that somewhere long ago, and just seeing that the world is growing and changing, and it's like, okay, online space, like a couple years ago, it was like, we have to hit the pedal on this thing, because every single year, Amazon and online presence grows by double digits. It's like the world, as much as we love that personal encounter, the world is moving, so you can't be blind to that. So thankfully, we started to really work on our website, our web presence, a couple years back. And last year, just 6 months before COVID, thank God, we set up two things that we did not realize how valuable they'd be. One was a live chat feature on our website, because our difference maker is consultations. People, don't know what to do when they have chronic pain. They've heard of natural nutraceuticals, but they don't understand what forms are better or sourcing is better that's going to get them off their opiates. So for us, our difference maker is our knowledge and the ability to have a consultation with our customers. That's why the community comes to us. Not just because of good prices or some good service, it's because we have the knowledge to help their mom, sleep better and get off the sleep medications or whatever. So that live chat feature on our website blew up once COVID hit, because people weren't coming in the stores. Number two thing, same day delivery. We were already doing, we call them the rounds, because we have 4 locations in Madison. So every day we're doing transfers, and I was like, it's probably not too hard just to do same day delivery, since we're already going around the city. And of course my staff, laughs, because I just throw these ideas out and I'm like, can you make it happen? And they all make it happen. But same day delivery, and that has been so powerful too. Second thing, once COVID hit, that blew up, for us overnight. So our in-store traffic tanked with COVID. Last I checked, it was 40-50% down in-store traffic, and our website and live chat and same delivery went straight up. So it's been a really cool balance, and now we're actually positioned where we're growing. This was the best month. September was the best month we've had on our website. Second best month. So yeah, man.
That's awesome.
It's my team, and it's
crazy. So for those that may not know, like me, I know Chad knows because he's a tech guy, but like me, so the live chat, who is manning that?
Yeah, so we have our wellness consultants that are live on there.
So it's
not
a
stores
bot.
Are open. No. And I had that choice in the beginning. It's you can engineer a bot that answers all the most popular questions and just have it be automated like that. Or you can have a real wellness consultant live on the other end answering your questions. And so our model, our difference makers are our knowledge, our care, and our quality. So it's how can we bring that to the online world? So we want to bring our model to the online world, because if you look right now on most of the most popular supplement websites, there's not that heavy interactive consultative relationship between the user and the company. And our wellness consultants will call new customers. So we get, half of our website comes from orders outside of Wisconsin, and we call every freaking customer because we care. And that's our difference makers, because we actually care about people enough to call them, take the time for it. That's heavy on payroll.
Yeah, that's what I was going to imagine. It could be, the bot probably would have been a lot less expensive.
Yeah.
Right, payroll-wise, or cost-wise overall, but the values you have in helping your customers, that you put real people there to be able to answer questions.
And to me, that's the coolest part, is going that extra mile. And this would be good advice if you're listening. Any company, and you guys know this, if you go that extra mile, you pay the extra money to care for the customer in an extra way, it comes back. It pays back dividends, and we've seen that, because that's where the customer in our company goes holy crap! They called me. I bought a vitamin C I live in New Hampshire. They live in Madison, Wisconsin. They called me and said, hey, if you're facing a sickness or anything, like take 2 a day instead of 1. That'll be more therapeutic for hopefully, lessening the duration and strengthening your immune system. And they're like wowed by that. So then next time they have an issue, they call back or check back in the live chat or tell their mom about us, that have sleep problems. So it's pretty cool, dude. I mean, it's a heavy investment, but I've seen that play out over the years. It's worth it.
Yeah. And I would say for any business, I think, you mentioned Amazon, they will take over.
Yeah.
Everyone, and most local businesses, if you don't pivot and create something online presence-wise to make it as convenient as possible, but also the quality's got to be there and a bunch of other things that go along with that. But that's what local business owners, I know they're scared of it, but if you can't just sit in place.
Oh, dude, yeah, I know. I'm like, want to just come around and help these people because it's like, trying to think of maybe a restaurant that doesn't have a connection with GrowHub or what is it? Grubhub, yeah.
There's a bunch of other apps.
Yeah, just like guys, you got to get online. You got to get, if it's an app, let's get after this because you have to. I mean, for us, even before COVID, it was like if we do same day delivery, we can beat out Amazon every time. Every time we can beat them out. If we do this live chat thing, we can beat out Amazon every time because we're right there. We can connect with somebody real that actually cares about you and direct them towards the better, better quality stuff. So yeah, it's huge, dude. Inflection points, I love that stuff.
No, it's really good. So as you continue to grow through whether it's online, the store, stuff like that, what's the next 10 years look for you for you guys?
That's an awesome question. Take over the world.
The healthy space world.
There'll be a podcast somewhere and it'll be like, the healthy place, I mean, they will take over. You have to pivot in order to come against the healthy place.
Someone's going to be listening to this, running their own podcast, going like, look, this guy is going to take it over.
Oh, man. I love life. Life is worth living. Life is worth fighting for. Life is worth maximizing, your potential. You have things inside of you that are really unique and powerful, and if you understand who you are and what you're capable of, I mean, stuff impacts me you might know 1,000 people, and then those 1,000 people know 1,000 people. So it's like we're 2 people away from 1 billion people, right? And so that whole idea of your impact. So if I have one word on my tombstone, it's impact. I want to
That's good. You're on the right podcast.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, that's what you do. Yeah. When I first saw that name, I was like, yeah, suck up.
Let's go.
So, man, dude, I want to absolutely max out my life to impact people. And, my core is my faith and my family. And, that's where this passion comes from, is to help other people's faith and other people's families and quality of life. So I've happened upon this industry, which is the nutraceutical industry. It's really my mission to encourage people and help people live their life to the fullest and maximize what they got going on. So I'm never going to stop, dude. I mean, you say next 10 years. That's why I kind of prefaced with my little tangent there. I want to bring the website to a national. My goal right now, $100 million. A big old hairy goal is what they call it.
Big, hairy, audacious goal.
BHAG, man. I mean, never going to stop, dude. So we're hiring all the right companies, UX designers and CRO experts and a couple different dev teams and Google ads, Facebook ads rolling. We got YouTube ads rocking, and it's working, and we're refining it and figuring out how to pivot. And we just got a new office space that's larger, so we can have a video room to really start rocking out. 20 to 25 videos is what we're going to start to pump out next month. So I just want to educate, I want to impact, I want to help people, and that ultimately is going to be in 3 streams. So we have the brick and mortar stores. I'd like to get to 7 in Dane County. So right now we have 4. I'd love to get to 7. I have the locations picked out, waiting for one company to move out of my spot.
And we're not naming names.
Nope, no. And number 2 is the website, and national website. And then number 3 is our brands. It kind of came out of our stores growing, but we've developed 2 different brands. Lively Vitamin Company and Wild Theory CBD oils. And those were for my stores. I didn't, my vision wasn't maybe big enough to think of like selling them to other stores, but in the last year we've started to do that. So it's been cool to see those pieces and that learning curve of the reps that you got to get in place. And so we're in about 5 states right now and waiting on one rep down in Florida. Hopefully he's going to pop for us. That has like 7 states. And,
well, how do you manage that then? So those reps in all these different states, and obviously now I feel like some of the technologies made it easier, especially, and I think COVID, one of the benefits I think of COVID is, I don't think it's just our industry. I think, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, if it's helping in yours as well, but like Zoom, GoToMeeting, RingCentral, some of these digital Skype, whatever, these digital platforms to create a face-to-face experience when you're not face-to-face.
Yeah.
That's made it a lot easier for us as advisors. And I don't think, like, it was always there, not always, but over the last decade it's been there. What COVID did, I feel like, has normalized it.
Yeah. Like expedite.
Like instead of like the preference of you and I being face to face right now, some of our podcasts we've done recently have been across the country. Jonathan Orr was in Michigan, stuff of that nature.
Nice.
And we were able to do a Zoom, and I was in my home office. Chad wasn't able to be there because he was deployed. Like all this different stuff. Like it's normalized it. Mm-hmm. We now see it as normal. So is that what you do with some of these? Sales reps or whatever it might be in these other countries, or do you get them all together at some point? Or
I mean, that's a good question because we're still new at it, but Zoom has definitely been helpful, because it's better. I mean, in Connect, like, I love being in front of you right now, actually, like seeing you in your cool suit, Zoom is not that, but it's better than being on a phone.
Yeah.
And what do they say, like 92% of communication is nonverbal.
Right.
So whether it's with my employees, because through COVID and stuff, a lot of our leadership meetings were via Zoom, and it's definitely helpful. As far as managing them, we have a Billy, cool guy. He's ahead of our brands, and so he's the one that would be over the reps and connecting with everybody, making sure they got their poop in a group, and
Their poop. That might be the first time I've not only said on this show, but first time I've heard that term.
Yeah, I can thank my father-in-law for that. He's got all sorts of. He says whenever he doesn't want to do something, he's like, "I rather lick a urinal thing, urinal cake, or slide. That's like sliding down a razor blade." I mean, he's such a funny guy. But anyway, to make sure he's got his poop in a group, because it's like herding cats sometimes, whether you're talking about employees or reps or like whatever. You gotta stay on the same page, and communication, as I found out early in my marriage here, is important across all fields.
Absolutely. So that's really cool. One of the things I want to go back to is going through my head. So you say you graduated high school with a 1.7. I don't think I was too much ahead of you. I might have been a 2.7, but either way, not a great student.
Sure.
Like I told you earlier, I'm ADD, and that wasn't as much of a thing. Maybe a little bit for you. You're a little bit younger than me, but for me, it was not really a thing. Unless you're maybe really severe and people just thought you were acting out, but it was just your brain didn't function like everyone else's. So I was thinking about this. So with a 1.7, I'm guessing you didn't go to college.
No, after school I was like, because I just had that God experience in my life, and I was like, what should I do? And so there's this Bible college in Waukesha called New Tribes Bible Institute, and it's actually like for missionaries, to like go get educated in the Bible and then like go out around the world. And I didn't want to do that. I was like, don't send me to Africa, but I decided like, hey, Bible college, that sounds kind of cool, and it's like maybe keep me out of trouble for a little bit. I was getting away from the drugs, and so I did that for a year. So I do have that, but then no.
So the point I wanted to get across there is because so much in our society is based around this idea of college and getting the education that way, right? And don't get me wrong, there's education. I did a couple of years of college, and then I dropped out. I've been very vocal about that, and I've gotten to the top of my profession without that degree.
That's so cool.
Even though most people sit there and say, you have to have a degree. Well, that's their thought, or that's what they were taught.
Yeah.
But there's other ways, but you're still very educated, and you're still running a very successful company. And I love when I can ask someone a question about a 10-year vision, and you have one. You have to be well-read. You have to put right people in your life. So who have you put in your life? What are you reading? How have you educated yourself to be able to grow a vibrant business without that college degree?
Yeah, dude, that's such a good question. And just to encourage you, if you're listening, like, man, business, regardless of the field, maybe not regardless, if you're a medical doctor, you should probably get a little,
Yeah,
or a brain surgeon,
yeah.
you should probably go to school.
Yeah, please, or otherwise we're probably not going to have you operate on us. But
I mean, I am so slow in so many ways. Like, I have a hard time, retaining facts. I have sometimes way the heck overconfident, plow ahead. And a lot of these weaknesses could make or could break a successful business venture. So first off, you don't have to go to college for so many types of businesses, and you don't have to be smart, because I am that's not my strength. My wife says I'm smart, so I'll take that, but it's not my strength. And to bring around you people that are, what's the right way to say, hedging your weaknesses. So Becky, for me, my wife, that's been one of the most important parts of our business journey. We couldn't have gotten there. If you liken me to a kite, I love to fly. I've been skydiving, bungee jumping. I love plowing, forth. But you gotta have somebody holding that string in order for you to fly. So Becky's been that for me. And
that anchor.
Yeah, dude, yeah. You can't fly a kite without somebody holding on to. Something else I realized throughout my life is, in myself, I'm not great. I'm not I don't want to be a know-it-all. I don't think I have the answers, and so that's been a huge kind of blessing for me to have that understanding. I'm but dust, they say, right? To have that, I don't know what they'd call that, but to know that I need help, I think, is one of the most important parts of that recipe of success. To go to people around you. So Ted Gary, he is one of the owners of the Princeton Club here in Madison. He's been a mentor for 10 years, and I'd come to him, talk about whatever. He's been like a father to me. Dave Ducommun, he owns a company called No Fear Dentistry in town. Great dental company. And he's been a business mentor to me. Terry Lamarand, he owned enzymatic therapy and then sold that and then started Pharma up in Green Bay and built both these companies $100 million brands. He's the guy that brought glucosamine to America some 30, 40 years ago. He knows his stuff, and I get to meet with him quarterly. So just because I need help, and I think that's been, if I would point to my success, it'd be to those around me that spoke into my life that I trusted, because you can go fast alone, or you can go far and take somebody with you, I think is the African proverb.
Yeah. No, that's so I would challenge your thought that you're not smart.
Oh,
right?
Shucks.
And
then, shucks.
Shucks. Here's the reason I say that is because you're smart enough to know that you need help and know where your weaknesses are. And I think a lot of people don't take the time to understand where the weaknesses are. So whether you do take something like a Strengths Finder from Gallup, which is awesome, by the way, I highly recommend it. And I think it may cost you $50 to find out what your true strengths are and your guiding purposes are, what God blessed you with in your life, and what God didn't bless you with in your life.
Yeah.
And that's okay. We're not meant to have everything as a strength. And the things that God didn't bless you with, they're never going to be a strength. You can marginally get better, but they're never going to be a strength. So if you focus on your strengths, there'll be a lot more exponential growth out of that. So, but then identifying people that are opposite of you, whether it's Becky, your wife, or for me, being this ADD mind, I tend to be highly unorganized. So you can see my desk. I got piles. It's organized chaos, we'll say. But bottom line is, I'm not an organized person.
Sure.
I hired people that are really organized to help clean up my hurricanes.
That's awesome.
So that I can keep doing what I'm best at, and they do what they're best at and what they're uniquely gifted to do. And then the other piece I would say is you're extremely humble then. To be able to say, I don't know this. I know that I'm new to this business or whatever it might be, and you're soliciting help from these other great business owners in Madison. So what I want to ask on that piece, because the Gary family at Princeton Club, the dentist Ducommun, I think you mentioned, which I've seen his sign and his advertising, driving down Mineral Point. So what were the questions you asked when you got to them? Right? So I think this is where a lot of people, because their ego gets in the way, and it's going to be this, I won't be on their level because I'm asking this question or asking for help, and I want to be on their level, or I want to be seen on their level, or why would they help me?
Right.
Why would they're a busy guy or a busy gal? Like, why would they want to help me?
Yeah.
And you find when you get to those really successful people, they actually really do want to help people like you and me.
Yeah. Especially, I think, when you know you don't have it all put together.
Right, especially when you come from a humble nature. So what were the questions when you, like, I don't know how you met them, but like, what was your initial, like, how did you get them into a mentor essential role?
Yeah.
Because I think that's what a lot of startup businesses need, or some really good people in their corner and in their ear.
Yeah, that's a good question, and each one's a different story for sure. If somebody came to you and you say you see them time to time at church, or you see them I don't know where else you'd see them, or they're a client of yours, and they said hey, I just started this like coffee house, and you seem like you kind of know what you're doing, and I don't know exactly what I'm doing wrong, but could I get a cup of coffee with you and just like pick your brain a little bit? That's how a lot of these started, where it's just like I showed them respect, and I recognized their accomplishment, like, hey, you guys, you've done something pretty cool here, and I'd love to learn from you. And there's a point where you might get coffee the second or third time where it's like, hey, can we do this on, I mean, it's different every time, because there's some guys that I've met with once that, like John Maxwell, like I got a little window with him, or like John Bevere, I got this like little window with him, and some people that I think are cool and have done some great things. But then those mentor relationships, I think you gotta be bold. You gotta say, hey, would you
take a risk?
Would you be okay, like, meeting once a month or something? But you gotta feel it out too, because
they're busy. Yeah. But if you don't ask, the answer's always no, right?
And I've been shot down before. I said that to John Maxwell. I jumped backstage after one of his big talks because I just think he's the coolest guy. And I was like, dude, I'll fly. He's like, I'm like, can we get a meal with you or something? And he's like, oh, I gotta fly to, I forget the state, but I gotta fly. I was like, dude, I'll fly on a plane with you. Like, I'll just go wherever. And he's like, I'm sorry, son. Like, that's not. And he's like, 65 or something. He's like, I'm sorry, son. Like, I can't do that. But there's something special about you. And when the other 10,000 people out here are just going out the door, you came back here and found me. So well done, son. And and that was like worth it. Yeah. So like I got rejected in that, but I didn't lose anything, and I actually got a gift from him that I'll never forget.
Yeah, right. He admired your hustle.
Right.
And he paid that for it, right? He politely shot you down.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, no, I'm going to jump on it, because he's probably going on a private jet anyhow.
Right,
I'm going to jump on my private jet.
Yeah.
But Maxwell's the godfather of leadership. So what else are you? So that you went to a seminar of his, big talk, right? So that's another thing you did to learn. Mm-hmm. What books would you recommend people reading? And we'll get to your favorite book at the end. But like, what did you do to learn to grow into this business? Like when you were at GNC, what were you learning? What were you doing? Not just showing up to earn a paycheck. What were you doing?
Yeah, I think earlier in my life it was all about figuring out like what is life about, and like why am I here? Okay, now I believe in a God. I believe that He saved me and stuff. So what now? Like what is life supposed to be about? Because I know what media says it should be about. Like your looks and your accomplishments.
Your things.
Yeah, material stuff, right? And that's what you should like make life about. And so my belief structure started with like, no, life is about who God made me to be and who He is. And once I understood how much I'm loved by God, it was like, okay, God, well, what would you have me do? And so earlier in my life, it was like, reading books around like what God would say life should be about, and finding like, okay, humility is like this key of the kingdom. Like I want to pursue humility. What does it look like to pursue humility? Mm-hmm. Well, give up pride. Like what does it look like to pursue generosity? And how do you keep, as you start to make a little more money, how do you keep from getting greedy? Mm-hmm. The answer is be generous, right? That defeats greed. So learning early on some of these like kingdom principles, if you will, like it's better to give than receive. So then, you start hiring your first people. It's like, I would rather be generous then, and I'd rather give to them so that they can go far, instead of just focusing on myself so that I can go far. And it's just interesting. So that was That was like maybe my 20s, you know, and into my 30s, it's like, oh, wow, like I am way over my head. You know, I'm getting more employees now and more locations now and a website and a couple of cool brands that I want to build. I am over my head. I still struggle with communication. You know, I struggle with retaining facts, which is tough when you're like CEO or whatever. Like you're supposed to be remembering, like, okay, this employee did this to that person, and we got to write them up now. And you know, setting up your managers, connecting with them so that they can execute and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So this last 5 years, all about like leadership and reading the books, going to the seminars, meeting with people, and this last couple years, it has been like, how can I give in a greater way? Because I've been like a steward, if you will. The way I view my businesses is like I don't actually own them. God owns them, and I'm like a steward of what He's given me. So I'm a big believer in that. And so then that changes how you navigate and how you. So now I'm finding ways like, how can I give more? So reading books about like, what does it look like to change a community? What does it look like to invest in something? Because if these companies are going to keep growing, it's like, man, we could change, change the world.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a whole nother level, right? And a whole nother layer of education. And again, I'm just a baby,
right.
with some of this stuff.
Yeah, and as you scale, right, which is what you're doing, and trying to get to the next level, that every level is another devil, right? So like as you go up, like whether it's a lack of knowledge or a temptation or whatever it may be, every level you go up is another devil, and that's so that's awesome to think about, and that's why we always have to be on our toes with learning and continue to push forward, because if we don't, we succumb to that devil. So that's awesome. So
that's so true.
What I was thinking about also then is, what did you learn because I know I was a frequent customer of GNC and other supplements in the past throughout my working out life, post college football, and just continue to try and stay in shape. Have good years and bad years.
Looking chiseled now, bro.
Well, I've been better. This is actually, I would consider a bad year with some of the stuff going on.
Funny.
But
okay.
The last 3 years were actually really good years. But so I was thinking there with GNC is, there's a lot of bullshit there too, in supplements. How did you learn?
Bullshit, yeah.
How did you learn what was good? And because there's good stuff there too, right?
Yeah,
So I'm not saying that, but there's none. There's good stuff. There's bullshit.
Yep.
And the supplement industry is monstrous.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yep.
How did you learn, and how do you continue to learn as to what's the good shit, what's the bad shit, and make sure that the good shit's in the healthy place.
Yeah, I'm Tim OBrien, and we got the good shit.
New tagline. We just came up with it.
Yes, dude, that is the healthy place. Boy, yeah, good. That's a really good question. You start out early on, and you get in the store. I remember just a young buck, getting in the GNC store. And again, it comes back to like asking the people that know more than you, right? So the owner of the store, John, I asked him, asked my mom, like what are the good brands and what are the good forms? So there's a couple different layers. First would be like these brands, and before I explain that in 2 minutes, like you just need to find somewhere you can trust, because most people like don't have the time to delve into what I'm about to say. Brands, where they source from, is really important. So like GNC, for example, a lot of people don't know this, but they're owned by China. So the Commonwealth of China purchased GNC in like 2012. So nutrients, supplements, nutraceuticals coming out of China, typically there's a concern, kind of like a red flag there, just based on toxins and heavy metals.
Especially after this year.
Especially after, look COVID and every pill.
Yeah.
Sorry. that was a little.
That was a joke, people.
That was a joke. Yeah. Sorry about that. So sourcing's important. Forms of nutrients are really important. So people don't know this, but vitamin C, for example, ascorbic acid is vitamin C. Sodium ascorbate, calcium ascorbate. Those are all forms of vitamin C, and there's good, better, best there. So calcium ascorbate absorbs 4 times greater than ascorbic acid. So imagine how much more you can help somebody if you know that little fact when they're looking for a good quality vitamin C. And it's like that across the board. And so then there's certain brands that you start to trust.
Right.
Lively Vitamin Company is one of mine, so of course I trust it. I know where it's coming from. But you're a Pharma out of Green Bay. That's Terry, my mentor. great brand. Mega Food, Pure Encapsulation. So there's a lot of good brands out there, and there's a lot of bad brands. And I'd probably say there's more bad brands than there's good brands. Most companies will put the cheapest possible ingredients in there.
Drive up margins.
Drive up margins? Oh, dude, I get it, man. There's all sorts of ways that I could cut corners with our brands, and I didn't even realize there was corners that I could cut until I saw that, I could take the high road here or the more profitable road here. And so that was really interesting as I navigated through that. It's like, wow, so most companies are for sure cutting all these corners. And at the end of the day, results, right? Because you can have a gorgeous packaging, where people are like, ooh, but a crap product inside.
Yeah. And that's why, going back to where we started the conversation on Apple, where I think they were genius at.
Yeah.
Great product, great packaging.
Right? Yeah.
So
yeah.
Looks good, feels good,
Yep.
works good.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. One of the books, though, that changed, there's a lot of controversy around Kevin Trudeau, which, I don't condone, I don't really even know his full story, but a book that was a game changer for me was Natural Cures. Because, and there's probably other books like this out here, but it paints this understanding that I didn't have. Every single drug treats a symptom and then hurts the body in some sort of way. It's negative for the body, every drug. Nobody would say drugs are good for you, pharmaceutical drugs are good for you. Nobody would say that because they all treat a symptom and then hurt the body in some way or have a side effect, etc. If there's a natural alternative, like BCM 95 curcumin for inflammation, I get thousands of people off the pain medications with BCM 95 curcumin. It not only treats the same symptom as Vicodin, but then it strengthens the body instead of damages the body. So it's such this paradigm shift, and where the pharmaceutical companies, and the medical system is at in the United States, it's like, don't look at anything natural. Don't look behind the curtain over here. God created all these amazing nutraceuticals for your health and for your body, no matter what the problem: sleep, stress, anxiety, depression, IBS, Crohn's disease, cancer, dementia, Alzheimer's. Not saying we're going to cure every disease over here. What I am saying is there's natural alternatives, and there's natural cures for a lot of different ailments, conditions, issues, problems. And the way our medical system is set up is you go into the doctor. We have some of the best doctors in the world in Madison. I respect the hell out of those guys. Some of the best pharmacists in the world here. The way the system's set up, though, it's like, here's a script. Here's a drug, here's more drugs. They're not telling you about BCM 95 curcumin in there because there's no money in it.
Yeah.
It's all run by Big Pharma and everything. So that really turned my, lights on, so to speak, and got my passion going for education, getting the world out. I want to tell the world.
Do you worry about, so speaking of Big Pharma, and knowing that your place does CBD, knowing in Wisconsin we can't do THC at this point, I believe that'll be coming. I don't know what your belief is on that.
The politicians say 10 years out still, which I don't know if it'll be that far, but that's
I
what
was
they say.
thinking if I was a betting man, I'd go 5, but I guess it depends.
I bet you're right, though.
Depends on the politicians, right?
Yeah.
So let's say, where I was going with that is, do you think that Big Pharma's positioning for a takeover of both CBD and THC?
Epidiolex was the first CBD drug, and it's gone through some struggles, but it was a CBD isolate. And so they absolutely, and that's actually what's made it still such a struggle with the FDA right now, because I think it was 1992, there was a law that was passed where once something is called a drug, it can't go back. And CBD isolate was made into a drug, so then now when it's trying to be legalized mass scale, it's still a drug, and it's not legal for people like me, according to the FDA, to sell drugs. So with that, the FDA still calls CBD illegal.
Yeah.
So it's still not legal according to them, but it is according to the federal and.
What's fascinating about that fact that you just said is that's the exact reason that we can't take profits from a CBD place and invest in the markets.
What? Really?
Because until that piece of legislation is fixed, it's seen as a drug, and us as advisors can't take profits or money made by you and invest into the U.S. markets right now.
That's insane. To add
because
to that,
of that factor.
To add to that, which is wild, I got booted out of my bank in Madison because of the CBD thing. I had to change insurance companies. My credit card merchant processor, I was in Florida on vacation with my family. I got a call, none of the credit card processors are working.
Oh my gosh.
Wait. You mean we can't accept any sort of payments whatsoever? and nobody was allowing CBD with credit card merchants.
Right, this is all based on that one factor you just shared.
Yeah.
Because it's all through the
legalities
banks,
and
the banks
insurance.
and the investment broker dealers like us have to comply with those federal laws. And even though CBD sales is legal here, or even though some states have marijuana and THC sales legal, as you know, in Colorado and some of those states, they can't go through their banks, they can't go through the investment house, they have to set up
Cash
their own
businesses.
Yep,
and all
exactly. They have to set up their own private security, their own stuff to be able to operate business because of that one law you just shared.
Wow, dude, that's crazy. So to answer your question, yes and no. For the last 20 years, Big Pharma has been. They would completely wipe us out if they could. There'd be no natural alternatives. You'd have to go to a drugstore to get vitamin C, because they've done this with like red yeast rice. It completely lowers cholesterol naturally. You do not need to take a statin. Statins are the biggest joke in the United States of America. It's $40 billion a year, and it actually increases the risk of cardiovascular disease. It doesn't reduce it. And but the way our medical system is run, so red yeast rice, they said, hey, this is a drug. We're not going to allow you guys to sell this natural drug, because they want to own it. They want to be able to keep it so that they can sell tons of statins, right? So now we can only sell a 3% red yeast rice product. So it's much weaker than a full plant. But you can grow red yeast rice in your backyard and lower your cholesterol naturally, but I can't sell it at a health food store. I mean, it's wild, dude. So yes, there's the concern of them, because they are coming after things that they just try to take vinpocetine from us too, which is really good for cognitive focus and mental clarity. And we shut them down, what was it, NPF? But I'm part of that agency. So anyway, the other hand of it is they've been trying for 20 years. It's we fight back, man. We're not gonna be crushed. We might be the David, and they might be the Goliath, but we're not quitting.
Yeah. That happens.
But that brings up another conversation of inflection points. So what happens if that did happen? I mean, that's something I think about, and I don't have a plan there.
Right. Well,
get a paper out,
and Big Pharma is bigger than Amazon, and so as far as the Goliath in the room, I mean, Big Pharma controls a lot of policy decisions.
A lot. Yeah.
So that's something to look at. But anyhow, so as you continue to grow here, one question I want to ask, because I know that some people are skeptical of CBD and natural stuff.
Yeah, and they should, just to pause here, they should be. There's so much BS out there.
Right, and I think it's because certain people glom onto it as oh, it does everything.
The miracle case.
It's a miracle. Well, all right, but it's not.
No.
There's specific uses.
No,
so
I got a whole list of people it didn't work for.
So how would you speak to the skeptics and then those people that think it works for everything?
Yeah. Boy, being in the natural alternative business for 17 years now, beyond growing up in the stores with my mom, managing those locations, nothing is a miracle cure. No, I don't have one supplement that works for everybody. Every single one, no matter how much I love it, and no matter how many people it helps, there's another list of people it didn't help, period. And pharmaceutical drugs, I would remind the skeptic that pharmaceutical drugs are the same way. Doctors will say this drug didn't work. Let's try this one over here.
That's why they have to have all those disclaimers that this causes anal bleeding. And
Right? Yeah, anal bleeding.
It could cause, I should say. Not
right? Yeah. It's wild though. Yeah, I mean the side effects, and that's where I'd like to remind the skeptic. It's this might not work for you, but it might work, and it sure as hell doesn't have the side effects or the poison, negative impact to your body like the drugs do. So why not try? BCM 95 curcumin is my go-to for inflammation, for example. Number 2 might be CBD. Number 3 might be boswellia, comes from frankincense, powerhouse anti-inflammatory. And maybe you do strike out on the first one or the second one, but maybe the third one does work, because I see that happen all the time. We recommend what's most successful, and then second, if that didn't work, we give an in-store credit so nobody wastes any money to try the second one, and it's often a home run. And the beauty of that story right there is you may have just avoided being stuck on Vicodin for the rest of your life, because that happens all the time and damages your kidneys, damages your liver, damages your stomach, damages your cognitive ability.
Could lead to heavier opioid usage.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I mean, back in my drug years, this is TMI, but I took piles of Vicodin to get messed up. Didn't mean to just tell you that, but I did, and here we are. So It's wild. I mean, if we can keep somebody away from the drugs, like they often don't even know what we're saving them from. And the crazy thing is most drugs lead to more drugs. So one drug will have a deficiency, diabetes medication will make you more likely to have your blood pressure go up. And so then you get on blood pressure medication, and then that combination is negative for X, Y, and Z, and then you get on that medication. And so we've all seen those people where, you just like look in their eyes and you can tell they're kind of like not fully there, and it's so sad. And they're often the folks that are heavily medicated.
Yeah.
So that's one of my passions, dude. It's just like under the doctor's supervision, that's fine. I'm not going to pretend I'm a doctor. I'm not going to pretend I'm a pharmacist. Let's see if there's healthy, natural ways to get you away from the drugs onto something natural. And, to the skeptic, it's like, that's okay. Be skeptical, and I actually always congratulate those guys because it's like you should be. You shouldn't just like be led by any sort of marketing.
Sold by, yeah.
Yeah, because there's a lot of BS out there. Find somebody you can trust or that you think like, okay, maybe, and they come into the store and you can say, they kind of look at me like, I don't believe you already, but I heard there's some good things about CBD. Like, can I try? Like, what do you think? And there's a lot of science, so we'll share that. PubMed.com, Examine.com, TheRock.us has literally categorized thousands of clinical trials related to CBD. And like a library, you can click on, colitis and see the studies specific CBD to colitis. You can click on Alzheimer's and see the studies with CBD related to Alzheimer's, cancer, dementia, chronic pain, etc. So there's good science and reason to believe that it can help you.
That's good. No, that's a good answer, and I think that I wanted to bring that up as you were coming in here today because you hear it from both sides.
Yeah.
And I've witnessed in in-laws' household, I've witnessed in others where my father-in-law had certain issues, mental issues that led to him taking his own life. And someday I will divulge that fully, but bottom line is he was led on by a witch doctor in one sense because he did have ulcerative colitis. He had many other things that were leading to him trying both pharmaceutical and natural. And I remember one time he got so sick because of this essential witch doctor that was telling him to eat these certain specific things.
Oh no.
And specific diet, and it just was not healthy. He was like withering away.
So sad, dude.
And so there's both sides of it. So I've seen firsthand people get sold on certain things and convinced by people they shouldn't be convinced by that this is the way to go. But I also understood where his mental state was at this point. He's like, he just wanted to feel moderately normal.
Right, dude. And that example reminds me that, we all need a team around us. And so over the years, like just be looking like who's a good person to have on my team. You might have a good medical doctor. You might have a specific pharmacist you like to go to. Maybe somebody goes and sees a chiropractor, and maybe they a masseuse. Get your massage once a month, whatever. And maybe someone like the Healthy Place. The wellness consultants there are someone on their team, and because we need that balance.
Yeah.
And just like in life, you might go ask a couple people that you look up to. What's your thoughts on this new business venture? Or what's your thoughts on, I met this girl and I might want to get married, and, what do you think? And so anywhere in life, it's like, it's good to be balanced with a team.
Yeah. Well, so actually that last piece of advice here. So let's say you go, I want to marry this girl, and you go to someone you look up to, and he or she went through a bitter divorce.
Wow.
And then you go to someone else that you look up for, and they've had a healthy marriage for 25 years. You're probably going to get different advice from those two people just based on their own personal life experience, right?
Right, yeah.
So, the one that went through a bitter divorce, like, make sure you got a prenup, make sure make sure you don't, and in fact, when they get done with their advice, they're like, oh, don't get married.
Right, just don't, don't ever talk to her again. Yeah.
So you have to take those with a grain of salt as far as like,
and both are probably well-meaning. They love you, they care about you maybe, right? Yeah.
But they came their own. It's impossible for us as humans to not interject our own personal experiences into some of the advice that we're given.
Wow.
So,
dude, you hit a nerve with me there because I think that's why it's so important to have faith.
Yeah.
Because life is so freaking hard. I mean, I've had more setbacks and more discouragements and more frustrations over the past 10 years of business than I have had victories, successes, and it's been like really hard. And yet I have this joy inside because I'm not doing it for my own kingdom. You know, I'm not trying to build my own kingdom in my own name. I'm doing it for a greater cause.
Yeah.
And I think there's such a power there and an adrenaline I get that fuels me through all of that. And it's amazing because then the victories are so much more sweet. And the joys are so much more, you know, when I'm sitting in Hawaii with my family, after I worked my ass off for the last year, like busting it, trying to, you know, it's like, thank you, God. And so I think that's, you know, so important just to have that faith, because without that, dude, I mean, the next thing's going to take you out.
It's something, well, whether it's faith in God, which you and I are both Christians, so we can speak to that, but for someone that's listening that's not, it's faith in something that's bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
And that could be a mission. You know, if you say, you know what, I've gone down that God path, I don't believe in that, or science, or whatever you want to say, that's fine. But you still have to have faith in something bigger than yourself, otherwise it becomes about yourself.
Yes. Yep. Picture it like faith, again, whether it's in what I believe in or the greater mission that you have, like plugging that into like a light into an outlet. Like it's going to make the light turn on, because then you're not focused on yourself. If you're focused on self, it's just you're going to keep running into walls. You got to get focused on something bigger.
Agreed. All right, let's wrap up. We talked about the word game a little bit. So remember, with the word game, you can respond with one word or a short phrase, and you can't repeat yourself. Ready?
Yes.
All right, happiness.
Joy.
Health.
Gladness.
Gladness for health, huh?
Yeah.
I thought you would have said something like...
I should have said something that was like marketing the healthy
BC,
place. Find your healthy place. Let me go back. Yeah. Yeah.
Pain.
Suffering.
Power.
Victory.
Life.
Joy. Again. Oh, did I repeat myself?
Yeah.
Shoot, that joy word. Life
Joy's a good word, though.
is worth living.
It's a good alternative. How about death?
Life.
They go hand in hand.
New life, yeah.
Go hand
I mean,
in
for
hand.
real, yeah.
Yeah, new life for
There
Christians. Problems.
Solving the problem.
Solve those
Gosh,
problems.
can I like take like 3 seconds and think about it?
No, you got to go with gut.
Oh, man.
Chad did this to me early on before we instituted into the podcast.
Oh, really?
We were out there on the patio having a cigar, and he's like, "All right, we're gonna do this game." I go, "Random."
Yeah.
And so I did it with him, but yeah, now it's part of it. All right, success.
Oh, shoot, gut again. Now I'm in trouble. Success. Sacrifice.
It's good. Inspire.
Everyone.
Impact.
Oh, man. The world needs you.
It's what you want to leave, right?
Yeah.
You talked about it earlier, so I was excited to get to that one. All right, man. We talked about favorite book of all time or most recently read. You want to give a shout out to? What is it?
Yeah, I mean, favorite book of all time. I mean, I don't want to have a lame answer and say the Bible. The Bible's had the largest impact on my life, for sure. But, you know, the book I just read that I really am pumped about right now is Measure What Matters by John Doerr. And he's played a role with Google and Apple and Intuit and just some of these largest companies in the world, and something called OKRs, Objectives and Key Results. And one major struggle in my company has been like having actual goals. Like I have it in my mind, the vision, and I run really fast and hard and never get tired running after that vision. My team needs goals. They need objectives. They need key results to know they're getting to those goals. And OKRs are literally going to change the face of my company, and I can't wait because it's been so needed, and it's helped me. That book has helped me like formulate like, okay, what is our next quarter goal?
Yeah.
You know, and then what's our next year goal? And to break it down in that way. And we've all heard about goals setting and the importance of that. This whole OKR thing has been a game changer. So I'd recommend that book.
Well, as the owner, you're the visionary, and so the team needs you to put that out there, and somehow being able to make it about them too. Right?
Yes.
So as long as you can do that, they'll buy into the vision and chase down whatever big, hairy, audacious goals you set out there. Right?
Yes. I love
All
my
right.
team.
So how can the audience get in touch with you? Follow the Healthy Place.
Yeah, you know, we got handles on Instagram and Facebook. On Facebook, we're still Apple Wellness. so we're having a little trouble changing the name to The Healthy Place. But you can find us there. And then my email, just if you got questions, like I love emails, tim@findyourhealthyplace.com, tim@findyourhealthyplace.com. Any questions you have, I can try to help. And then our website, findyourhealthyplace.com, is a great resource. So our products are on there, obviously, but that live chat feature, I'm encouraging people, Josh, like even if you don't want to buy anything, but you just got questions and you're looking into what does the natural world have to say about this condition, this issue, this problem, like hit up that live chat feature. And our staff, our wellness consultants, are trained to know what the natural world is saying about that condition. And you can just ask questions there. So I love that as a resource. Yeah.
I love that as a resource.
Yeah, and we got 4.
That's awesome.
Oh, yeah, isn't that cool? Yeah, I'm just so pumped about it. Then we have 4 locations in the Madison area if you happen to live in Dane County.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of our listeners do, and I think that you've at least piqued some interest, if nothing else, if they haven't already seen you. And I'm sure there's some people here that are raving fans already.
Nice.
Man, I really enjoyed today. I really admire your authenticity,
Thanks,
your
man.
vulnerability, your ability to talk about your faith, and just being humble in general. Like you guys are exploding, and you have your eyes on the prize in the right way. So keep crushing, man. I'm excited to watch the growth going from here.
Thanks so much, Josh. Happy to be here too, and just, let's all keep crushing life, because life is beautiful to gift. I mean, whether it's your health, your family, your friends, like life is beautiful, and to remember that and to take a moment to like look at the sky and be like, every breath is a gift, and to breathe out of that, meaning live your life out of that, you're going to make an impact and a difference. And we all rather be stars in a dark universe than a black hole or something. So let's keep living life, man.
That's great. Great advice. I'm not going to say anything else. We're ending with that.
Nah.
Thanks for having us, Tim, or thanks for being out here, Tim.
Yeah, thank you.
This was awesome.
You're the man.